Hey man, today I'd like to talk about something called the sales state or selling state. Now, normally on this channel, what we are doing is we are talking about tactical sales, we are talking about how to open a sales call, close a sales call, FAQ techniques, etc. And even outside of the actual sales frame, how did you get the lead, where did you get the lead? So, a lot about lead generation and sales. But today I want to talk about something much more organic, which basically means how can you be in a state in your real life where everybody you meet can potentially become a lead or a sale, and you're constantly in this state where you're constantly pulling in leads and sales to yourself. I call it the selling state. And once you stay in this state and once you master some of the techniques I'm going to share with you, everything becomes easy. You don't have to think, you don't have to prospect. Sales are constantly chasing you, and people are constantly chasing you for more advice and for working with you. Okay, now you can implement this in your general daily life, but definitely in your business life, best to have a lead generation system and a sales system in place. But what I want to share with you is how you can build a personality that is constantly pulling in the sales, and you can extend this organic state to your actual sales funnel also. All right, so let's get started. Now, a lot of sales or a lot of opportunities that we are uncovering or creating has to do with how we communicate internally in our own head and how we communicate externally as well. All right, and communication is one of the biggest things, and communication inside of the head, which basically means how do you see yourself, how do you see your own significance, your own story. Okay, when you talk about communication, a lot of people talk about soft skills, voice tone, body language, confidence, etc. etc. But today I'm going to talk about a very simple system. If you were able to master this, your voice tone, body language, etc. will all become irrelevant because body language will develop automatically. Okay, voice tone will develop automatically, confidence will develop automatically. You won't need to take a class to develop confidence. You won't need to master some techniques in order to have voice tone and diction and things like that. All of that really doesn't matter in real life. Okay, it's good if you want to improve your diction, you want to improve your communication at a core skill level. But in real life, if you want to utilize your communication in order to get results, especially business results, not required. Okay, so let's get started now. How would it be if you knew that whatever you're going to say, people are going to listen, and people are also going to take action? Those are the two things. You want people to listen, so you should have crowd control, and you want people to take action, which means you get tangibility in your communication. You can later sell them stuff, you can get them to do what you want, and all of this we call influence. If you can get people to do or go in a direction that you want them to go, that is called influence. Okay, before we go ahead, I just want to quickly share with you a graphic on my screen or a diagram of how the human brain operates. Okay, how does the human brain operate? So these are the human brain technically operates in a storytelling format. It has a flow to events where something happens in the past, something happens now, and something happens in the future. Okay, if you remember, when we were little kids and we went to grandma's grandpa's house, and when they were telling a story, all the kids are in rapt attention. The same kids, when you send them to school, they don't want to listen to the teacher. What is the difference? The difference is that grandma and grandpa are talking in story format, they're telling stories. Well, and when they go to school, it's all in facts format. Okay, so one of the biggest things is if you can just quickly understand that the brain of your listener operates in this format: past, now, and future. And usually, when we are carrying on conversations, they are centered around only now, okay, or only the past, or only the future. If you can figure out how to structure every single conversation into past, now, and future, then you will have great amount of crowd control. Okay, and we call this contextualization and call to action. So anything that happens in the past we call contextualization, and anything that happens in the future we call to action. That means before I start talking about the present or whatever the topic at hand is, I want to make sure that it is set properly. In the sense, it's like a diamond. The real value of a diamond is on a ring. So make sure that you have a ring on which to set the diamond. So the ring is more important than the diamond because it is the setting. And then the future is basically a call to action about what is the thing of influence that you want your listener to do. A lot of people miss that out. So there is no tail end to their conversations. Okay, it has to be tied down, it has to have an effective tail end to everything that you say. All right, especially even if you're going about in your personal daily life and all, the way you carry on conversations. Okay, now the neuroscientist Reen Rodriguez talks about an incident where he says that this particular lady was in a job interview and she was asked about what is your most proudest moment. What is your proudest moment? And she said, oh, my proudest moment was when I topped all 5 subjects in my high school. Okay. And well, the interviewers kind of took that as an indication that this particular lady, she is a little bit snobbish and she may not be a good hire. So somebody asked this lady a question, what is your proudest moment? And she answered honestly, my proudest moment was when I got great marks at high school. But she did not contextualize it. And that's why the interviewers probably thought, the interviewers thought, oh man, she's a little proud and overconfident, maybe a little haughty or snobbish, and it won't be a good fit for our company. Okay. And what this person goes out to say is what she should have said was break up that particular story into past and future. Break up the story into past, now, and future. And the past was, hey man, when I grew up with a lot of people telling me that I'm going to be up to no good and I was bad at school, I was dumb. But one day I decided I'm going to change that. And I spent 2 years and during my high school, and I made sure I got great marks. And I ended up on top, and then I shut the mouths of everybody who was doubting me. And then comes the future, which is, hey, if I do get to work with your company, you're going to see that kind of that side of personality for me. I'm going to go after problems like with a lot of tenacity, and I'm going to be coming out on top and prove all the naysayers wrong, or prove the competition wrong, or make sure that the company wins. Okay, so that's how you are supposed to talk about any particular conversation or any particular conversation point that is happening. Okay, in our particular case, what needs to happen is how do we look at our lives and at our as our career. So if you're into sales, if you're into entrepreneurship, your whole story, your whole life story is woven into your career, so that every time you talk there is impact, every time you talk there is significance. In our particular case, how do we break out the past, present, and future? The past is something called an origin story. The past is something called an origin story. For every phase of your life, whatever age you were, there was a setting in which a story got kicked off. Every phase of your life, a story ended. Every phase of your life, a story started. Okay, it's very, very important to look back at your life and figure out how the threads of life connected till today. Okay, like Steve Jobs says, if you look back in the past, the dots connect. But looking into the future, you wouldn't have thought the dots would have connected. Like back at that time, you wouldn't have thought the dots would have connected. So there has to be a story to your life or to your career or to your product. All right. And that is what we call the context. And now is what we call the main discussion. And then there needs to be something called call to action, or what happens in the future. Because if you don't have a call to action, the listener's brain is left wondering what happens in the future. And over a period of time, if you leave a lot of listeners hanging, they will stop listening to you because nothing happens in the future. So it's if nothing happens in the future, then it's all about yourself. And then you become the kind of person who's always talking about themselves, and they're not great conversationalists. So how can you talk about yourself, tell the story, and still not make it about yourself? That is effective storytelling. Okay, so I'm just going to quickly give a format which is called instant contextualization. And if you talk in this format, you will automatically become a great communicator. One of the most important things is, do you have how did this story start? Okay, how did this story start? Now, few months ago, I was invited to speak at a particular event, and this particular event was about internet marketing. And I had been selected for this particular event because I had generated a certain amount of revenue, and it was supposed to be pretty impressive. So when the host was introducing me, she said, "Hey, Rajat, can you just start by sharing with everybody how much money you have made on the internet?" Okay. And when they handed me the mic, Instead of saying a particular figure or something like that, I said, my story starts in 2013 when I read this book called The 4 Hour Work Week. And since then, I was totally hypnotized. All I wanted to do was figure out how in this book, a lot of people are becoming internet millionaires. I wanted to become an internet millionaire. But 8 years passed and I tried to put all the steps together. And in those 8 years, I lost 8 years of my life and many, many lakhs of rupees. However, in the last 2 years, I have been able to put together 8 components that have helped me to make X amount of money, which is the main point, X amount of money. And in the next 45 minutes, I'm going to be giving you those 8 points. If any of you are just like me, who've been trying to put this together for a while and losing time and money, then please make sure you take notes, because I'm going to solve your problem in the next 45 minutes. Okay. Now, I ended up saying a lot. They asked me to give my introduction with a figure, but the figure has no point. It has it doesn't mean anything unless you have a context, unless you have the actual event and you have a call to action, which is, hey, if anybody is like me, please make sure that you take notes, because I'm going to solve your problem in the next 45 minutes. Okay. Took a little bit longer. A lot of people may say, okay, this guy is all about himself. But for the crowd that was there, it was bang on. And after that, I was able to deliver some value to the crowd, and there was pin drop silence, and everybody was taking notes. Okay. Probably would not have had the same effect if I had just thrown out a number, because if I had just thrown out a number, they would have just felt, okay, this guy is another smart aleck who is better than us. Maybe we will never be like him. Hey, maybe he's different than us. We'll never be like him. But when I started off with that particular story, everybody connected. There was instant connection. Okay. So what is the next, what is the next action item for you? Every time you're asked to talk about a particular fact, especially when it relates to your business, always start with the context. Always start with the context. Okay. And then come to the topic at hand, and then give a call to action so that you become an instant, in fact, a permanent marketing machine. All right. So if somebody asks me, what do you do? I don't say I'm an internet marketing expert or I'm a sales coach. Okay. Imagine I'm going to a party or something in my personal life and people say, hey, what is it that you do, Rajat? I'm a medical doctor turned sales coach. Even if I say medical doctor turned sales coach, that'll still probably grab some attention. That'll still probably grab some attention. But the way I say it was that right after my medical career, I decided to get into marketing because I was so fascinated by it. And then the public backlash over leaving a government medical job and wasting a medical seat was so strong that for many years I stopped writing doctor in front of my name. But I did want to do something good for society. And within 10 years of quitting my hospital job, I was able to be a part of a company which sold for 500 crore rupees in Silicon Valley, bringing 100 plus crore rupees of foreign exchange and taxes to India. So today, if somebody tells me, hey, you wasted your medical seat, I tell them, well, I brought 100 plus crores to the government. Maybe they can build a medical college. Hey, by the way, if you know anybody that is struggling in a career that they don't resonate with, do help them to reach out to me, because I can probably add some value, and I've been through that whole journey. So if you know anybody who's struggling in their career and they don't really connect with their job or their business, I'd be happy to spend 5 minutes with them. Instant lead generation, man. Instant lead generation. People are like, wow, that's amazing. Tell me more. Rajat, what happens? Hey, my kid is not happy in his school. Hey, I know somebody, they're not happy in their job. Hey, I am not happy in my job, my business. How do you do this? How do you do that? Boom. Instant lead generation. Instant lead generation. Okay. And you don't need to have great numbers, great figures. I've been sharing story of some of my successes and all. It doesn't matter. Any story is good enough. Any story is good enough. If you look back at your story, there will be some origin story which led to some event that happens today. And there will be a call to action where people can get some help from you, especially if it's in the area where you're doing business, because definitely you are an expert. So there must be something that you're doing that is valuable. Okay. So, hey man, please subscribe to this channel and click the bell button if these videos are adding value, because I'm trying to grow this channel. And please let me know right below, what is it that you're going to do? My recommendation is build a series of origin stories for every time there has been a change in your life, or every time there has been a bend in the river of your life, so that every time anybody asks you any question about yourself or about a topic at hand that you're expert in, always start with that origin story, come to the context and go with a call to action, and you will see your whole life change and sales and leads just flowing over to you wherever you go. Okay, please like and subscribe to this channel once again, and I look forward to seeing you in this next video. Let me know in the comments what else I can make for you, what other topics I can address for you. Look forward to seeing you later in the next video. Bye bye.